Players.
Players.
Players own.
Players own.
Players' own voice.
Players own voice.
It's Players Own Voice, a podcast from CBC Sports. My name is Anastasia Buses, and today I'm chatting with hockey star, broadcaster, and the pride of the Big Nickel, Sudbury, Ontario, Tessa Bonhomme. We're going to get to our conversation in a second, but first, I want to beg forgiveness about the production today. I schlepped my recording gear over to her downtown Toronto condo, and no sooner than we get, 30 seconds into it, her upstairs neighbor starts hammering down new hardwood. So, being the crafty businesswomen thinking on our feet that we are, we run down to Tessa's SUV in her parking garage because, well, let's be honest, we're resourceful like that here at the POV podcast. It was a great convo. Love that girl. Let's get to it. I have the co-captain of Ohio State, Go Bucks.
OH.
Yeah, CWHL All-Star, two-time world champion, Olympic champion, one of the most instrumental and prolific faces to advocate for women's hockey. You might call her Tessa. I just call her a future bridesmaid. Surprise! Tessa Bonhomme.
I accept. I accept with honor.
I only have expensive taste, so...
Oh, gosh.
All Hankel.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't know this, but your uncle is a keyboard player for the Beach Boys.
He is, actually.
That's what we're going to start with.
All right, my Uncle Tim. He's a beautiful human. One of my fave uncles out there. He's a good time.
I've heard he's a beauty. No, but in all seriousness, no. We are now in Tessa Bonhomme's car.
We do things really fancy around here.
Yeah, pretty sexy. Showbiz. Let's start off with the important stuff. Your uncle is a keyboardist for the Beach Boys.
That's a part of every single one of my bios, and it's hilarious. My dad told me to put it one of my first years. I remember as we had to fill out these forms, and I did. And ever since then, it's like this huge thing, which is awesome because I am so proud of my uncle and everything that he has done. I mean, he played for the Monkeys. Like, I've gone everywhere and watched him play, and I've been on stage and performed with him. But like, I love him so much because he's actually just an awesome uncle. Like, all that other stuff aside, all that noise pushed aside, he's just a really cool dude. And he wears my jersey when he's on the road in Canada. He wears my Bonhomme jersey. I gave him one. And even when he was touring through Ohio State, the Beach Boys were doing some outdoor festival, and he got all of my teammates who were still in town tickets, and he wore my Ohio State Buckeye jersey on stage, and the place went insane.
I want to get a Tessa Bonhomme jersey.
Yeah, you might.
It's vintage now, I guess.
might know somebody that can get you one. Yeah, that stuff's vintage.
How are you doing?
You know what? I'm actually pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I'm doing great. I'm happy. I'm working hard. I'm busy. All the things that I like, you know? I'm not good at sitting still. I guess you could say that.
Me neither, but you do it well.
I sit still well? Thanks.
Yeah, like when we're watching TV and stuff. Ellen DeGeneres, she's a big fan.
Yeah, I am. Ellen!
Do you think that all the masses of the 16-year-old boys that watch you on SportsCenter know that you were such a phenomenal hockey player?
That's a strange question. No, actually, probably not, because even grown men, after my second year or third year at TSN, I remember I was hosting a panel, Sens Hockey, and Dave Poulin had referenced my hockey playing career, and I had about 12 tweets of people that said, I had no idea you played hockey. And it was like, I kind of like that. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy flying under the radar. I like what I do, but I also like to be able to go out and have some fun and have people think that, you know, they've never seen me in their life before, which chances are they haven't, but if they have, for it not to register.
A lot of people don't recognize me as a speed skater either.
That's strange. You know, it must have been the spandex suit. I bet you if you threw on a full spandy, they'd be like, oh my gosh, Anastasia. I recognize those quads from anywhere.
My quads were bigger than Katrina Maydone's. You've heard it here on record.
Were they actually? You measured?
Yeah.
Is that real?
I swear on my life.
We're going to have to get Katrina on this thing, and we're going to have to...
She's up next.
Is she?
I'll bring out the tape measure.
I want to hear it.
All-star, two-time world champion, Olympic champ. What's your knee-jerk reaction when you hear that?
I don't know. It makes me bashful a little bit. It sounds strange, but even at work when people mention it, like, I kind of get embarrassed. Not embarrassed, but just like, don't, I don't like when people brag for me because I'm not a braggy person.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that. I didn't train to play on the national team for anybody but myself. Like, I'm a super competitive person with myself, which is why I love playing golf. But at the same time, I want to be my best, and if you're going to be in my way, I'm going to try my hardest to run you over to get to where I need to go. And I know people don't say it in a way to make me uncomfortable or make me mean. They're just proud of it. So I've learned to just shrug it off. But I mean, that's a part of my resume now, right? So I guess you just got to get used to it. But sometimes when people say it, I get flashbacks to some pretty fun, cool memories with some of my teammates and stuff. And when you said 2-time world champ, what comes to mind right away is when we beat the U.S. in overtime in Burlington, Vermont, and that tournament. The head coach at the time didn't like me. Dan Church was probably my least biggest fan. And so I hadn't played at all. I was the grocery stick. I was a bench warmer. And I didn't care. I just wanted to see my team win. Like, if I'm going to stand there and wear that jersey, my team better win if I'm not going to be on the ice and have an impact on the game. So, my job was just to sit there, cheer on the younger kids that were playing ahead of me, give them little tips, because I obviously know a lot of the U.S. players. I'd played against them for years. And just so happened that for whatever reason, some stuff went on in the locker room, and I ended up getting a chance to play in the third period and in overtime. And sure enough, in overtime, I crashed the net, and I kind of interfered with the goaltender.
I didn't see it.
If you watch the video, my foot hits Molly Schaus's foot, and Megan Augusta passed the puck back to Carolyn Willette. Smart choice of her not giving it to me. Give it to the goal scorer, man. And Coco put it in the back of the net, and we won in overtime. And so to have the tournament start off not the way I wanted, but to swallow my own pride and to be a good teammate and, do everything that I could that was so foreign to me. I was used to being out there. I was used to being the person on the team that was a difference maker, someone that was contributing, but I couldn't do that. And to finally have it end where I had an opportunity to contribute and did, that goes down as one of the best wins. And that makes me smile because I remember being at the bottom of the dog pile hugging Carolyn Willette, and Augusta had her arm around me and I actually couldn't breathe. And I looked at Augusta and I said, Gus, I can't breathe, like in a very petrified voice. And she just yelled, everyone get off, Tessie can't breathe. And then everyone got off and she ripped me out of the pile and we hugged, and it was like a cool moment because Augusta was my best friend on the team too, and she knew it was tough for me to have to sit through all that all tournament. She had my back. So just cool memories like that come to mind.
Can we go to the fall of 2013?
Take me there.
Long story short, you get cut in November.
I did, centralized year. And that's tough because centralized year starts in May. And you're training at boot camp every day from 7 in the morning till 9:30 at night. And you go home, you have maybe a month to try and piece your life together, organize what you're doing. You move to Calgary, you train every day. And then what I'm happy, though, about getting cut in November was my parents got to see my last game that I ever played in the Canadian jersey. So that I'm very thankful for.
Did you expect it?
Yes, very much so. I could tell. Danielle Goyette was our assistant coach, and she couldn't look me in the eye anymore. And she was one of my teammates. I'm one of her biggest fans. She was a riot to play with because she's so particular and meticulous about things. And as a coach, she's so good. And I knew when she couldn't joke around with me anymore or look me in the eye that something was going on. And I obviously knew that Dan Church was the head coach at the time, and he wasn't a fan of mine either. And I was playing in positions that weren't great for myself. I'd entered that year, and I'm not blaming them by any means. I had suffered a concussion at training camp. I came back barely ready to play, obviously because throughout the month that I had to prepare, I was recovering. And then I got shingles.
God.
And then I chipped my hip bone, so I was getting back spasms like crazy. And quite honestly, all that aside, my play was subpar. For whatever reason, it was just an off year for me, which was fine because I kind of went into that year. I was really questioning even trying out that year, to be very honest with you and upfront. in 2011, I had accepted a job, or 2011, I accepted a job with Leafs TV, part-time broadcasting, and I did it just because I just moved to Toronto. I needed to pay my bills, and it was talking hockey, and I was like, well, it's down the street from where I'm renting a place, so I might as well just go to the ACC, make some money, and play some hockey, and I fell in love with it, and I started liking it more than I liked training for hockey, and I thought, you know what? My goal was to make an Olympics, and I did.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be, I remember trying out for the team, and there was some girls that had played on the team for a long time, and I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of girls above me that didn't get to play because you feel like you need your third Olympics. Like, that's not very fair. Like, these girls deserve their shots too, and I never wanted to take a chance away from somebody. And that being said, though, I'm still competitive, so I still want my position, but I'd gone into that year, and I remember saying to my sister, I think I might call Mel and tell her I don't want to try out. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. And my sister was like, well, if you go and you make the team and you don't come back to work, are you going to be upset? And I said, no. And she said, well, if you go and you don't make the team and you come back and work, are you going to be upset? And I said, no. And she's like, well, then what do you have to lose? She says, it's a win-win. There's no reason for you not to go. Buckle up, saddle in, try your hardest, and go from there. And for whatever reason, I always felt like I had my foot half out the door that year. And, Mel hit the nail on the head. She was just like, I always knew that you ended up where you needed to. And so it worked out perfect. I came back, and I got to cover the team anyways. So win-win.
Did you fall out of love with hockey or fall in love with the next chapter of your life?
I've never fallen out of love with hockey. Is my first love. I'll always love hockey, and I work in it, so that's where my passion still lies, right? I was just in Las Vegas watching Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, and when games get close and there's a lot on the line, I feel my hockey adrenaline kick in, and that feeling's kind of cool to have come back. Like I'm sitting there and I'm on the edge of my seat. And it's like, I feel when I'm sitting that I'm in my stance to be ready to hop over the boards. But meanwhile, I don't have a stick in my hand. I've got an ice-cold beverage. Little different, but nonetheless, I still have that feeling kick in. And so I feel like it's always going to be a part of me. It's always going to be something I want to be a part of, whether it's, in work, through charity, coaching at grassroots, anything. I just always want to have my hands in it.
What are your regrets?
Gosh, I don't know. I feel like I don't really have any. Well, you know what? I guess I do. I wish I would have taken more time after practice to work on my shot. Courtney Burchard, who never made a Canadian Olympic team and absolutely should have on more than one occasion, just a cannon of a shot. And, I remember after 2013 when we lost in Ottawa at the World Championships, I said to her, I'm like, I want you to work with me after practice on my shot every game, every day, every practice. And she laughed, and I was like, I'm being serious. Teach me the way you teach your kids, because she coached. And she took the time, and I saw immediate improvement. And I was like, and I work on things after practice, usually stick handling, pivots, because the game's so fast, puck moving. As a defenseman, you want to get your feet up ice fast enough and make a crisp hard pass, easy to get out of the zone, or just even escape moves. And for whatever reason, I stopped working on my shot. And my dad's going to kill me for saying that, because he was all over me as a kid to work on it. But, I wish I would everything else that I did during my career, I wouldn't trade. I was frowned upon for doing Battle of the Blades. I was frowned upon for accepting my job with Leafs TV, but I didn't care. I'm the type of person that will rarely say no to anything, and I often follow my heart, and I did in every occasion. So, but not practicing my shot. Practice your shot, kids. Don't let that go away.
All right, but to be the analyst for 2014.
Yeah.
USA, Canada. Arguably, I'm not even going to argue. For me, it was the most amazing sporting event I've ever seen.
Best game.
The single most, I just can't comprehend being down 2-0, tying it up 2-2. Marie-Philippe Poulin scores the overtime winner.
Obvi.
That couldn't have been easy, though.
You know what? Kevin Dineen came in, and I to coach. Dan Church had stepped down or got fired. I can't remember what it was, but he was no longer the coach, and Kevin Dineen stepped in. And I remember I called him. I had texted him to interview him, and he was like, absolutely. And I just talked to him like, how are you going to turn this around? And he was like, the only job I have here right now is to make sure every player is as confident as they can possibly be heading into these Olympic Games, because they had lost every game leading up to the Olympics.
Every game.
And under his helm, and I think they won the last game right before the Olympics, an exhibition game in Austria or wherever they were playing. And
with that being said, I remember they had lost like 14 in a row, and Kevin Dineen goes, "Oh my God, you girls just have to have fun." Gives Carol Ouellet his visa.
Yeah.
And they have a few drinks on his bill.
Yeah, because he gets it.
They just needed to have fun.
He gets it, and that's where those girls said like they've never played for a coach like him. And actually, you know what? That's the one regret I have, that I never got to play for Kevin Dineen. But in speaking with him, I was thankful, because you train with people, they become your family, especially these ladies. We eat, sleep, and train together. We blood, sweat, and tears. It's an actual thing. We see each other every day. We're actually in a 21-person relationship. That's what it's like. And you get to know everyone, through their good, bad, and ugly. And so in talking with him, I felt like I was so thankful that my sisters were being taken care of by such a strong leader. And I remember it was just like a huge exhale. And I just got the information that I needed from him. I thanked him for taking the time. I thanked him for stepping in and joining the women's game and using his name to help promote our women's team. But I never really had a doubt watching that game. I mean, I knew the girls were down. I knew they had a lot more in them. And thank goodness for Brianne Jenner taking that wrister. And thank goodness for Casey Bellamy and her butt for it going in off of her. Sorry, Casey, you're an awesome person.
Sorry, Casey.
But, we're just loving on your butt right now for whatever reason, because the puck went in off of it. And then Pooh, scores a game-tying and game-winning goal. But the best part about that game, and the coolest thing for me, is every time I went and did a speaking engagement, I always asked everyone, who watched the 2014 Olympics? Everyone's like, oh, yeah. Okay, who watched the hockey? Yeah. Men's? Yeah. Women's? Yeah. All right, who won the women's game? People would be like, oh, Canada won. They were down 2-0. They came back last minute, overtime, penalties, all this stuff. Poulain scores a game-winning goal. And it's like, sweet. Okay, so they remember that. All right, who watched the men's final? Raise their hands. What was the final score? Crickets. Who'd they play? People had no idea. They didn't remember it was Sweden. Did Sidney Crosby score? People weren't sure. He did.
I didn't remember.
They won 3-1. Canada won. People don't remember that, but they remembered exactly where they were for the women's game, and they remembered every moment of that game because it was the best game ever. That post was the single most greatest thing. It made a million memes that made me laugh like crazy. And honestly, I was the most proud. I had never been so proud to be Canadian, but also to know and have played with each and every single one of those women, because that was iconic. That was epic. That should be shown in the Hockey Hall of Fame for years.
And it will.
Hopefully.
I think it transcends hockey.
Yeah, it does. It's great. I mean, unfortunately for the American ladies, that's a tough pill to swallow, but they got it back in 2018, and they've got their gold now, and they've lived it up. They've been on I think the only show they haven't been on is like Oprah, but they've been shown some serious love.
Yeah. That's where we're going next, 2018. What does Canada need to do to be back on top?
I honestly think that this was the first time that we've seen both Canada and USA play two completely different styles of game. The Americans really loved to maintain possession and control the puck and regroup and attack with speed, whereas the Canadians knew that, and they knew that they were a very skilled team, so the Canadians really had to take advantage. So anytime they had a turnover, it was a quick up, a shot on net, crash for a rebound, and then back up into your defensive positioning, because the Americans were coming, and they're fast. And so the Canadians took their chances, and while, I mean, I think if you count the chances, they were relatively even that game, but it just looked like the Americans were better because they had the puck more. But Maddie Rooney, the American U.S. goalie, I think that Canada's got to figure out a way to generate more offense. They've got to find a way to tire out the Americans, make them lose their speed and lose their legs, because they just come in waves, and it's scary to watch, and they're just so skilled. I like the old Canadian way. I say play them physical. That's my thing. Like, every girl on this Canadian hockey team should be working on their speed in the summer. I don't care. Speed. And, you just got to ram it down their throats. Come in on the forecheck, make them hear your footsteps and hit them. Sure, you take a penalty, that's fine. Kill it. But then do it again, so that every time their U.S. defenseman is going to grab the puck when you dump it in, or if it's a soft dump or a misplay, they're nervous and they're gripping their stick. And I don't think the Americans felt that way once against the Canadians in the final game. But that being said, I don't think we're too far off. I just think that change needs to be made in terms of a little bit of the approach and the mentality of the women's game, because right now I think the Americans are about a step and a half or a half step ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with their win. Even if the Canadians would have been able to pull it off in the shootout, I would have been like, guys, good for you. You stole that one.
I hate
and
shootouts.
They stole 2014, to be honest. They didn't really have any business being in that game. They turned it on the last 8 minutes of that game. So, that being said, I would still take that win any day. A win's a win. No one asks how, right?
Doesn't mean it.
How many golds do you got?
It can be ugly.
Yeah.
You were obviously a gritty player. You're also incredibly funny. Known for a few chirpity chirps. You and Haley Irv the Perv. What is the worst chirp that you have received in your hockey career?
Like funny or like really hit home?
You're in the driver's seat with this one.
I am. Like in my opinion, chirps are supposed to be surface level, funny. You don't attack family, you don't attack kids. Mm-hmm. It's just stuff like about the person. So like, you know, if I knew that you were a terrible skater, I'd be like, dude, you're in speed skating and you got 2 left feet.
You're not a bridesmaid anymore,
Sorry. Bud. I was in figure skating for a bit, not you.
I wish I was a figure skater.
Yeah. You know, I just stupid stuff. Like, I don't know. I think there's lines that are crossed sometimes, but the one that hit home the most, and I don't even know if it crossed a line, it was just one that was very appropriate for the moment. It was actually my last game that I played with the Canadian hockey team in 2013 in November, and we were playing against the Americans, and I'd hit a player in the corner, and she fell down, and I knew she was behind me. She came to stick me, and so I turned around and whapped her stick away, and I laughed. And she said, you know, what's so funny, Bonhomme? Are you even going to make this team? And so she knew, she had inside info that our cuts were coming soon. She knew that the Canadians were having their cuts soon. And so I kind of like, and I knew I wasn't going to make the team at that point. I told you, but it wasn't any of her business. You know, we eat, sleep, and we devote our lives to this. Like, don't knock that. You're living it. I'm living it. Yeah. And so I kind of looked back at her and I was like, man, whether I'm on this team or not, you're going to be on the losing team in the end, so what do I care? And skated away. But I did care.
But with retirement, does that kind of rivalry transform? Could you go for a beer with Angela Ruggiero?
Ooh, Rugger? Man, I don't know. She beat me up a lot. Rugger had my number from day one. I don't know why, man. She was after me. But yeah, I would. I think she's a great advocate for the women's game. So I would totally sit down and have a beer with her and just chat about, you know, how to create more interest. I'd sit down. I mean, Cami Granado, I'm a huge fan. I played against her. I remember the first time I lined up against her, I was like staring at her like a weirdo, and then she ran me over and got the puck in the corner, and I was like, oh my gosh.
You ran me over.
Cami Granado just ran me over. I can't wait to tell all my friends. But, you know, I worked with Erica Lawler in the 2018 Olympics, and we hadn't really ever hung out before, and one of our first nights we were hanging out, it was her birthday, so we had ourselves a time, we got her a cake, and we had some fun, and you know, I got to know her on a different level, and I never didn't like her. I just never knew that I liked her as a friend, and so we became buds. We keep in touch now. When I go to New York, I'm definitely hitting her up, and I'm going to visit her in Brooklyn, and you know, I played against my D partner from Ohio State. In 2010, we started the game looking at each other. Lisa Chesson was a defenseman for the U.S. hockey team. So it's like, you know, when they're wearing the jersey and you're looking at them across the ice and you know what's on the line, you don't like them. Like, not one iota of you likes them. But off the ice, now that I'm retired, I will have a drink and chat with each and every single one of them, because in the end, inevitably, we need these women, Canadian, Russian, Finnish, Canadian, we need all of them to be super amazing role models and so engaged with our viewers. And so I want to help tell their stories, and in doing that, I have to get to know them.
Who is Tessa Bonhomme, the hockey player, versus Tessa Bonhomme, the broadcaster?
I don't think anything. It took me a really long time on TV to find myself again. And in that being said, that just means like to be able to be myself, to joke, to say things, to present things properly, to read my scripts the way I would say them. Like our basketball scripts sometimes say, and LeBron James nails the tray. I would never say tray. I'm a very white girl. I would say LeBron James nails the three. That's what it means. See?
Tray.
The tray. Now you know. You can start saying it if you want. I'll let you.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I just felt like, it's my voice. It's my face. I should say it the way I am. Like, I don't want to be a character on TV. I want to be Tessa on TV. And so it took me, probably 2.5, 3 years. And I remember Cassie Campbell told me it took her like 5 years to get there. And I was like, but Cass, you're like the most fun, lovable human. Like the people that know you know that you are so easy and comfortable to be around. And that hit me hard in the face when I sat up for my first SportsCenter show. I was just like, oh my God, this is terrifying. And I was so bland. I was so boring. I was nervous. I was scared. It was terrifying up there. But obviously you get used to your surroundings and you get comfortable and found myself. So Tessa, the hockey player, swears a little bit more than Tessa, the broadcaster. I can tell you that. Don't tell my Baba.
I won't.
Because she'll be very upset. But Tessa, the hockey player, even Tessa, the golfer, swears quite a bit more than Tessa.
Tessa, the giant Jenga player, swears a little bit too bad.
Yeah, well, I am, like I said, I'm very competitive. So if it's giant Jenga, I want to kick your butt.
Mystical, perfect, timeless Tessa Bonhomme. Thank you so much for joining me. Full-time beauty. Love you very much, buddy.
Back at you, my
Like
friend.
I said, bridesmaid.
I'm going to get you to write up my business cards. Mystical, what was that? Can you run through that?
I think I said mystical, perfect, timeless.
Oh, yeah, timeless. I'm going to get those
Like
made
a
up.
unicorn. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Anastasia Busis. You just listened to POV, the podcast. Player's Own voice. Peace.
See ya.
That was Tessa Bonhomme, recorded in her parked car in Toronto. Email your comments to us at playersownvoicepodcast@cbc.ca. Social media goes to #CBCPOVpodcast. Ken Wolf is the executive for this project. David Giddens is the producer. I'm Anastasia Busis. Thanks for listening. Peace.